Review board meeting for Tuesday, February 7th. We're going to go through the items in the agenda in the order in which they appear. I am going to lead this meeting until AJ shows up. Okay, agenda, there are no changes to the agenda, correct? I know we had, or did we have one applicant requested?
There was a withdrawal of 3119 North Avenue.
Okay, 3119 North Avenue will not be covered today, so if you're here for that item, it's no longer on the agenda. And then confirming all the communications have been posted.
Yes.
Great. And then minutes from the last meeting, we're probably up to date on minutes. Are there minutes from the last meeting?
Joseph? I think they've been posted. Is that right, Joseph?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
perfect.
And then we're on to our consent agenda items. So we're starting with ZPS-22-52, which is 328 North Avenue. Is the applicant here?
Good evening. Dave Simendinger.
I'm Kurt Simendinger. I'm his son.
Have you had a chance to review the staff report?
We did.
And any concerns with the staff report?
I'm confused that you would have an open permit from 24 years ago to go from 4 gasoline pumps to 2 pumps. I can't imagine how you would not have that closed as a city when we certainly had all your approvals, zoning approvals to open up that store in 1998. The other one was to raise the gas canopy. That happened shortly after we opened in 2008. Tractor trailers came slamming into it, put the driver through the windshield. We came down, got the permit, we raised the canopy right away. Those are things that happened a long, long time ago. So to see that they're still open on the agenda list here is kind of baffling me.
Well,
It's just a formality to.
back in the bad old days, we relied on the applicant to let us know when it was done for both building and zoning. And it's not that uncommon for permits from the 1990s to be open.
Okay, so we're just going to go down.
So
Is it with
you may
closing?
well have the building permit closed, but zoning is still open.
Okay.
So follow up with me and Ted, and we can take care of it.
So we're willing to come right down here tomorrow and get those closed out.
Yes.
And then, does anyone on the board have an issue with this being a consent item?
Does anyone in the public want to?
Oh, yeah. Is there anyone in the public that wants to comment on this? Okay.
I'll make a motion. On ZPS 22-52, 328 North Avenue, I move that we approve the application and adopt staff findings and recommendations.
Second? Okay. All those in favor? Okay, unanimous.
Thank you very much.
The next item on consent is ZP-22-625 72 Temple Street. Is the applicant here? Okay. Have you had a chance to review the, any questions or concerns with?
None.
Okay. Does anyone on the board have any concerns treating this item as a consent agenda item?
No, you got this. No.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
We're on consent, so this is good.
Oh, sorry, hold on, before that. Does anyone from the public want to make a comment on this one?
No, we have to treat it as a public hearing item.
You do?
Yeah.
So, since we do have some public comment, we have to open the hearing and swear the applicant in and swear anyone else who wants to testify in. So would you both raise your right hand? Would you swear that the testimony you're about to give in the matter under consideration is true and accurate under the pains and penalties of perjury? I do. All right. So we understand the project relatively well because it was on our consent agenda. If you're a neighbor, please identify yourself, tell us where you live, and tell us what your concerns may be for the project.
Okay, thank you. I'm John Suma. I occupy to the east side of this project, 3A Rockland Street. So if you have the diagram open there, it's, I'm not sure what you've got in front of you, but it's, we live right here. There's a duplex zoned as a condo on the corner of Temple and Rockland. So it's the corner lot. It's a pretty large-sized lot. So it's 3B isn't here. We're 3A. We've been there 18 years. So the lot proposed to be cleared here in this initial phase, I had some concerns about, some questions about as well. So I'm not sure what to proceed with, but.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question is, and I think I got an answer, at least, I think preliminary, but is this just an initial clearing in order to explore, I guess I should ask David here, but explore to the area to know what's possible in terms of the construction and siting and construction of the proposed duplex?
So your questions generally get directed to us,
Yeah,
so that's
okay,
one.
okay.
You have more?
Yeah, and since this is sort of related to what the answer to that question is, and even before the answer, or even before the question, since the grade here slopes downward, so we're below this, and there's already a sort of semi-wetland, it's a spring centered right in the middle of this. We already get drainage down as it is right now, and with weather getting worse and worse, you know, the kind of rain, we've had more and more flooding. We have a French drainage system here, so we're concerned about erosion and runoff, more so than we're getting now, both at this stage and then later, if they cut more trees, you know, that could add to the problem. So those are the two question and concern I have.
Can I follow that up?
Yeah.
So I want to understand that second comment a little bit. Are you concerned about runoff from future development or from the limited tree clearing and thinning proposed to us?
The clearing causing, you know, more likelihood for runoff. Does that answer your question?
It does.
And then potentially more clearing. You know, that's not clear, I'm not sure.
I think we can state that this application is just for an initial clearing.
Right.
And if there's any other work of any sort that needs to be done, then that would be a completely new application.
So we should address this one then?
So yes, right. So this is only about this one clearing.
Can I ask a question regarding that statement? So, as was stated in the application, the intent eventually is to build a duplex on the property. The intent of this application, as was stated in the application, was to clear some of the trees in the center so that we could bring in equipment to be able to determine where the ledge is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Perhaps I was,
Just wanna
I
make sure I'm
agree,
not-
I agree with what you said. The clearing in this case is outlined in the application, and I think what I meant to say is that if there's other trees that wish to ever be cleared, that would be a separate one.
Yeah, and really, I think more to the point that Leo's making is the house, the duplex, that's a separate permit application. So there's, there's gonna be more clearing, there's gonna be more development, there's gonna be more disturbance related to that. Separate application. We're looking at some very limited tree thinning now to quite reasonably determine where you can even build. And some of that's gonna be determining if there is a spring, if there is a seep, if there is a wet area, you don't necessarily know that when you first get into something. I'd imagine. Do you have any more questions on the clearing?
Well, the concern is, you know, with just this application, this clearing, you know, it's itself might pose some problem going into the spring.
Okay.
I don't know when it's planned, but to be executed. But that's, in the area indicated here in the diagram, I'm sorry, I just got a chance to look at this tonight because we got back from a long vacation, and I found this in the mail yesterday, last night actually. So I didn't have a lot of time to look at this and read everything. But this looks like, in terms of the total area, which I understand reaches up, you know, the property itself reaches up farther into toward the north, I guess it's the northwest. But in the area closer to Temple and where the proposed clearing is, you know, I'd say it's about at least half of the area is proposed to be cleared based on this diagram. Half of the area, if you just, you know, cut it. We're down here. We're on this is, you know, it's pretty, it's not real steep, but it's definitely, you know, steep enough. So, you know, this here, this is the concerned area, not up here. This is far up away from us here. So this is about half of the area that is currently filled with a lot of stuff. Ledge, trees, you know, various other, you know, there's moss, things that, you know, absorb water. So,
Well, that is something that we would have to take into consideration. Does the applicant want to respond to that?
You know, we respect all the neighbors' concerns, and we had chatted before. Without a doubt, we have every expectation that we would be required to manage surface water on this site once we get into a construction situation. You can see from one side of this property to the other easily. So there aren't that many trees. You know, it's a wooded lot, but you know, it's not like it's a dense forest already.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I did consult with the city stormwater engineer, and he did not feel, he asserted that this limited tree clearing would not spur an erosion prevention and sediment control plan, but that would be covered in the development that we would expect an application for.
That was my question. Yeah. So an erosion sediment control permit requires erosion fencing to be installed when there's a disturbance greater than a certain square footage. I know the state standard very well. I don't remember if Burlington has its own separate standard, but, you know, the stormwater engineer was consulted on that. Although, feel free to do it. Is there anybody else who wants to speak on this application? Okay, come on up.
Thank you.
Thanks. No, it's okay. You can, he doesn't need to hang out. So, did you raise your right hand?
Yes,
Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give in the matter under consideration is true and correct under the pains and penalties of perjury?
yes.
And who are you and where do you live?
I'm Barry Della Duca. I live at 148 Rivermount Terrace. That's up the hill from the site plan. And I own the adjacent lot of 68 Temple Street. So I'm on the other side. I basically concur with what you just heard, okay? I've lived there for roughly 42, 43 years. And when I moved in, there was nothing below me. It was a rock pile, or I called it a quarry. Then houses were built, soils were trucked in and deposited, and eventually trees started to grow. Way back then, the city assessed me for a view of Mount Mansfield. Right now, I have no view at all. I'm still assessed for a view. So my comment is, cut all the trees down so I can get my view back. However, I know that's not going to be the case. I'm agreeable, all right? In terms of the trees you do cut, I would like to have a view again, but definitely cut the aspen or poplar trees. They're garbage trees if you know anything about trees. They're the ones that produce all that fuzzy, flaky stuff you see snow in June and July that clog up the sewer drains and so forth. So I hope the selection of trees, all the aspen get cut. I'm just trying to think, there was one other item I wanted to mention. No, I guess that's it. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I think that's everybody, so with that, we will close the hearing on this item. We'll probably deliberate on it tonight, depending on how the next few items go. So thank you. So we're on the 94 Glen Road, yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So the next item up is 94 Glen Road, appeal of zoning approval to install new shed, expand driveway, and establish an in-home office. Do we have the appellant here?
Yes.
And do we have the applicant here? That would be you, and we do have the city here. So this is an appeal of an issued zoning permit, not a denial. So I think we'll ask the appellant to go first. But let me get everyone who wants to testify to raise their right hand. Do you swear to tell that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is true and accurate under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
I do.
All right. So whoever from the appellant would like to take the table, and we have staff report, we have your appeal documents. If you want to just generally tell us why the issuance of this permit was wrong and in error, I think that would be
Okay.
helpful.
So we're appealing the zoning permit ZP 22508 for one reason only. The zoning permit application for a home office does not reflect the true nature of the business, Image Pools, that is being run from 94 Glen Road. The approval for this permit falls under Comprehensive Development Ordinance Section 5.4.6, Home Occupations. Image Pools is in violation of several of these regulations. Image Pools has excessive construction vehicles on site from time to time, deliveries by semi-trailer, Bay State Pool Services, and chemical and environmental hazards created by pool chemicals handled and/or stored on site, all in direct violation of CDO Section 5.4.6. We are concerned that approval of this zoning permit will give legitimacy to the operation of Image Pools at 94 Glen Road, and violations of the Comprehensive Development Ordinance will continue without enforcement.
So we do have some images in a presentation format. I don't know if that's something that we could put up, or if you have it in front of you.
Are they
Yes,
different
it's
than what
the
we've?
additional information that's listed.
That's in
We
your
do
packet.
have them.
You do
Yeah,
have
so
it,
we
yeah.
have that. So you mentioned stuff being stored on site.
Handled and stored, possibly.
Yeah, so for example, if you look, let's see, which one was this? That would be slide 13. There is a pallet of pool chemicals that was stored behind the original shed on the corner of Chestnut Terrace and Glen Road. And in addition, PVC pipes stored next to that pallet of chemicals. And that was on April 28th, 2022.
Are any of the photos from after the zoning application date of September 4th?
Yeah, so there's on September 26th, 2022, slide 14, there's an image of empty boxes and Super Shock bottles of pool chemicals put out with the residential recycling.
Was there any delivery of it? Has the truck been stored there? Has the excavator been stored there since the appeal, since the permit was granted?
Stored on site are a dump truck and unregistered storage trailer with markings, image pools on it.
Did I see that the excavator hasn't been there after September? Or I thought I thought I saw that in
The
some.
excavator was there well into October.
Okay, let me check to see where the last image of the excavator was. Sort by date.
Used to be a
Looking at that, what was the last date that something was there? What was the last date?
Mr. FitzGerald could answer that question.
There today? Is there anything there today?
Yes, there is a dump truck, and there is an unregistered storage trailer parked on the grass with image pools written on the front of the trailer.
Is that
I don't shop at all. Anything that I buy comes to my house in a truck, whether it be a new stove, refrigerator. I built a pool for my daughter in Virginia this summer. I had it loaded onto my trailer, and I brought it to Virginia. You know, I have a son in Virginia. I have family members. You know, I have a right to live in my neighborhood, and I believe that I'm being as compliant as possible. My dump truck is registered. It's registered to me. It was inherited by my father. It's a 1990. It's registered, insured. I keep the bodywork on it. It looks really well. It's quiet. My neighbors even use my dump truck to put their leaves in it. And I park it out of the street. I park it in the street. I move it. I do whatever it takes to be a good neighbor. And so here we are.
So the application said that the only materials that were going to be on site related to the business were contracts and paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get delivery? I just want to confirm, I was a little unclear about where the deliveries were going. Do you get business-related deliveries to your home?
I do.
And do you store those chemicals at your home on occasion?
Are you saying, did you say literature or chemicals? I don't have chemicals there anymore. I was asked not to do it, and I don't do it.
Okay, so they're delivered there and
They're
then-
delivered to Heinsberg or Bristol.
So they're no longer delivered to your
No.
house?
Nope. I have street rods. I need room for my street rods. And I just don't want it at my house.
When did you stop the chemical deliveries?
I don't know. I've had my shed for, I don't know, a year or two. I don't know. But do I have them on my truck at times? I do. It's what I do for work. I'm a contractor. It's what I do.
So the photos from October of last year that seem to show deliveries of chemicals to the house, were chemicals delivered to the house?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't believe, and I can't confirm this, I did not have deliveries to that house this year.
And just the way I'm reading your application, if you did that, if you had chemicals delivered or you stored chemicals on site at all, that'd be a violation of your zoning.
Not to my permit, I have not, no. I worked with the city. They asked me not to do that. Is it Mr. Miles? He came and we talked about it, and since I applied for my permit, I've been totally totally compliant to my permit. I mean, he came to my house twice, and we talked all this through. And he's the one that suggested I put in a home office for my neighbor's comfort, and that's what I did.
Do you still, do you use that white trailer for your business?
That white trailer holds my tool.
The one in the driveway?
The white trailer holds my tools, and I talked to councilperson Paul about that trailer, because at the time I was taking care of my father. I was spending 2 nights a week with him, and I couldn't get my work done. She said, Joel, leave it there for the year. We'll worry about it. You have 3 years to complete this project.
Where do
I've
you,
done exactly what I've been asked to do.
Where do you store that normally?
It's all summer, it's gone. It's moving all the time. My tools are in it. That's where I store my tools. And when I go back to Virginia to finish my daughter's pool in April, I'll be taking the truck and the trailer with me. That's my livelihood, is that trailer. And in the summer, I park it in the street for 24 hours, attached, like the city says that I need to. And part of the reason that I'm widening my driveway is to handle some of the traffic that I have in my driveway, to ease some of the traffic and for the ease of the snowplow. And for my street rods.
There's a series of photographs, October 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th, and it shows various construction equipment around. Do I understand correctly that all of that equipment was just for the driveway?
It's for the driveway and for the shed. And I put 8 yards of topsoil on my grass. I drove my truck out on the grass and I unloaded it, and I leveled it with my excavator. It's much faster, much more efficient. I'm 62 years old, and with a $65,000 excavator, I'm not going to be out there digging ditches.
Theoretically, after the driveway is done, would you expect to have that equipment around the property less or an equal amount?
Less. I only brought it on my property, and then what happened was I put it on my property to take the surface off the driveway, because to install the driveway property, you need it to rest and you need it to pack. So originally I brought the equipment there to take out the pavement, because I was going to put it exactly the way that it was, and I was told I didn't need a permit for that. But when I went to do that, the street sweepers came through, and I got hung up there because the street sweepers, I kind of had to wait for them. And then by the time that passed, I needed my equipment on another job, and I moved it out. So still, my driveway has not been resurfaced, and in the spring, I'm going to attempt again to resurface my driveway.
Are you going to put some stormwater pipes under the?
There's no need to. I'm going to put it exactly the way that it is, as the city recommended that I do.
So there's some PVC in some of these photos. Was that for the business or the driveway, or?
It's what I do. It's what I do for work. I'm a maintenance person. And when you're employed as a maintenance person, you do maintenance work, and I do plumbing. I used to be a licensed plumber. I am no longer a licensed plumber. I even use PVC pipe to roll my shed in place. There's many uses of PVC pipe. And if you've seen the price of PVC, we're not really inclined to throw it out these days. We use it, and we use it, and we use it.
Anyone else on the board have some more questions?
Just a couple. The photo that I think was being referred to about the PVC pipes had this sort of grouping of materials under some plastic. Can you see that?
Now, am I allowed to go up there?
I'm looking at the photo that's on slide.
Supplemental info, right?
Supplemental info. So, do you want to come take a look at that?
I mean, one of the chemicals I use a lot of is baking soda, which can be confused for a lot of different things. I don't know what that is. That's PVC pipe. I don't know what that is.
That's by your shed, it looks like something. Okay. And then, can you tell me a little bit more? This looks like it's recycling. It
Yep.
does look like those are chemical, business-related chemicals that are being disposed of.
I bring those mostly from my camp, from my water system up at camp. I have a camp up in the Northeast Kingdom, and we have a water system that we treat with, which I do in my schools. We have 3,000-gallon tanks up in the schools, and that's what we use all summer. for our water systems. And
So I just want to
even-
understand, is this business-related
Some may be,
disposal?
I'm not gonna deny it, some may be and some may not be.
Okay. Brooks, anything else? Leo? Chase? Anybody? No? Since this is an appeal of a city permit, I would like to know if anybody from the city has anything they want to add to this?
Sure, I can pipe in briefly. So this started back in May with a complaint to our office, zoning complaint. Ted Miles went out, looked at things, talked to the owner and the complainant, and there were problems, as evidenced in the photos that have been submitted by the appellant, mostly related to stuff being placed on the grass, including equipment and vehicles and the boat and the trailer for that matter, as well as having the business without a home occupation permit. Fast forward to the fall, the owner applied for a permit. You can see that there was a month or two passed between application and permit approval. And that was driven by correspondence between me and Mr. FitzGerald about changes that needed to be made in order to actually issue a permit. Changes were made, and I will point out that none of the photos that I've seen from both the appellant and code enforcement staff are any more recent than October of this past fall, October 10th, and older than that. I haven't seen anything that shows that the problems continue today. The zoning permit was issued because what was ultimately agreed upon and applied for by the owner was approvable as a home occupation. If Mr. FitzGerald decides he's not going to abide by that and start building pools in his backyard, right, I mean, that's a different matter and becomes an enforcement issue. As far as I can tell, what was applied for was approvable. And again, the evidence suggests that the prior problems have ceased to be problems today.
Can I add one more thing?
Do you need to? Okay. So I think with that, we'll close the hearing. Okay.
We're skipping the next one.
Yeah, 311
Yeah.
North Avenue has been, 3119 North Avenue has been withdrawn. So that leaves us with Hungerford Terrace, ZP 22-30. This, Bruce, before you get going, this was marked as certificate of appropriateness consent approval, but was not on our consent agenda. Any reason for that?
It might have been because I was late with getting Mary some bubbling that she needed to make it clearer to you. I think my original application wasn't as clear about what we were changing.
The staff report and the submissions weren't complete by the time the agenda went out.
Got it. So are they complete now?
They are complete.
Would you recommend this for consent certificate of appropriateness
I
approval?
would.
Okay. Are there any members of the board who would object to treating this on a consent agenda? Nobody? Anybody? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I did
So-
have questions about what exactly was.
All right,
was
so
being
let's
added.
open the public hearing, and we'll swear Bruce in. Bruce, raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give under this matter is true and accurate under the pains and penalties of perjury? I should bring my notes.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, geez, I
Close
need
enough.
that. God, I'm gonna get it right eventually. So, I keep hearing the one you say when you're in court. It's not quite the same. So, Bruce, just briefly outline what we have in front of us as to changes. I understand that it's mostly focused on parking changes, but explain to us what's going on here.
Sure. So you have an existing PUD, and the PUD is really there to involve primarily 3 lots on Hungerford Terrace, but also the dentist lot on Pearl Street. And really, the dentist is involved just to share parking. So, and this building, to meet setbacks and all the other sort of things, because there are a number of buildings on the street that are set back, is sort of, it's a T-shaped building. On the street, it's 24 feet wide and goes back, and then it goes across the two other lots. So in the middle lot is that T-shaped building. On the northerly wing of that T-shaped building, there wasn't a first floor of construction. There was parking underneath. So what we're essentially trying to do here is add another unit because the cost went way up and we're trying to spread the cost over another unit. So it's a 3-bedroom unit being added. That's the primary use change, but that impacted 3 facades, northwest primarily, yeah. And it also, we deleted that parking that was underneath and moved the parking to outside the building, because now that access point for that area could be used for something else, and we used it for 2 parking spaces. But I think we lost 3 and gained 2.
Net loss of 1.
Right.
So you don't need the same amount of parking, so you're taking some of the parking and replacing it with an apartment.
Right. The parking ordinance has changed since then. Before we needed a parking waiver, now it's moved.
So unit count is going up by 1 to 16 units, is that?
Right. In this building, there are 2 existing, there are 3 structures in the PUD in addition.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. So then we'll close the public hearing on this agenda item. So that wraps up our agenda as to public hearing items. And unless anybody objects, I close the hearing. I assume we want to deliberate on our agenda items tonight? All right.
AJ, before you guys get into deliberation, I have a random item for you guys. So the July 5th board meeting has a conflict scheduling.
Yeah,
The
it's July 5th.
legislature
How about
has,
that?
well, now you'll be recovered from the 4th. Legislature has enabled fully remote meetings again, so the easy way to accommodate it is we just meet on Zoom the 5th. Otherwise, we'll have to track down a different physical
With
location.
this room.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Anybody object to that?
No.
Great.
Okay, perfect, thank you. That
I
was
look forward to us not having enough people. Thanks, Scott.
It's a Wednesday.
All right, so we're done. Do we want to deliberate on?
Yes. Kevin to keep recording or something.
I guess we can take this relatively simply. I'd make a motion on 11 Hungerford Terrace that